Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to my podcast with special guest today, Leah Solmaz. Hello, Leah.
Hello, John.
It's so cool to have you on my channel. I did see you, I'm not sure now, it was a couple months ago. We had you on the Mindful Leadership podcast.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to just follow up with you directly as well and just learn a bit more about you and your journey and your offerings because I know I'm always very interested in both your blogs and your work as well is super fascinating to me because I feel like it's part of the world that's changing so dramatically and so fast
Mm.
and I can see that you're really looking to the future in a world that seems much fairer and equal and more empowering for people.
Mm.
But yeah, before I rabbit on too much, I'd love you
Okay.
to introduce yourself if you could, please.
I never know how to introduce myself. So when I was acting, I used to just kind of say I was an actor, filmmaker. Um, and now over the years, it's kind of morphed. I'm kind of like this all-round jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. So I have my own marketing business. I also have an e-commerce store. So in between the marketing business, I'm actually getting stock ready. So I have a convention next weekend, this weekend actually.
Wow.
So my kitchen just is exploded with plaster and it's just a bit of a mess at the minute, but that's the joys of running a business, I think. Um, so yeah, I kind of went into marketing after taking a step back from acting, filmmaking. And for years, for as long as I can remember. So my first day job was in a garden centre, and that was when I was 13. So from then, I've always had kind of like manual jobs alongside school, alongside like my acting and things. So I
Mhm.
knew I didn't want to do anything manual, just purely for the fact I actually put my back out in
Oh no.
2017 or 18.
Mhm.
And that was just kind of like the alarm bell to say, if you still have to do day jobs, try and pick something that's not as tasking.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know, is that a good intro, John?
It's a fantastic start. But yeah, tell me about your adventure into marketing. Like how did you first enter it?
So I was kind of having like a bit of a existential crisis with the acting filmmaking. That was 2021. And I kind of knew that I was doing marketing with like the acting. So I was very much independent for about 10 years of the 12 years I think that I was doing it. Um, so I knew I was kind of good at what I was doing, like networking events, building my own website, social media, um, and yeah, just kind of putting myself out there as this brand actor brand. So yeah, I knew I wanted to do something marketing wise. I just didn't know which area, so I just kind of picked digital marketing, which is everything.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. It is
Um,
now. Yeah.
it really is. So I'm trained in literally everything from SEO, PPC, website design, blog writing, content creation, social media, marketing strategy, anything and everything you can kind of think of. I'm very much trained in. So it's a lot, but I think I'm one of those people that needs a lot of like mental stimulation. So I even though it's a lot, I do actually enjoy it. It's kind of like a little bit masochistic, I think, at times.
To do all the things.
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful. And marketing fascinates me. And I think in many respects because it seems to be like a reflection of ourselves, right? It's like this, or maybe another way of describing it is like an awkward, um, sometimes reflection of ourselves, especially cultures that are um, not as outgoing, right, or not as individualistic.
Mm,
Um, and I know, in the UK, certainly in Scotland, a lot of us, or and maybe this is more specifically in domains of where we're practitioners, like helping other people, like I meet a lot of massage therapists and reflexologists and counselors and hypnotherapists and energy healers and lots of people that they just kind of want to get on with doing the thing they love. And
Mm.
then the very first question they get when they're saying, "Oh, I'm starting my own business," is, "So where's your website? Like, or who did you get to build your website?"
Mm.
Um, and I think that marketing aspect is really fascinating. I know that website isn't everything, but it seems to be one of the key things that we ask ourselves about.
Mm.
Um, and certainly my journey with websites, I guess I kind of fell or I started to get some experience in marketing when I started to um, develop online banking systems for Lloyd's Bank. For those not in the UK, one of the larger UK banks, or certainly was back in 2008 when I was last there. So I was doing like the Sainsbury's online banking system with Corporate Line and others. And that was my first kind of venture into websites. And I remember it seemed to be really important. People were talking about brand. They're like, oh, it's got to have like, if you read the brand guidelines, John, I was like, what's that? And they're saying, like, the fonts have to be like, the same, and all the colors have to be on brand. And it's like these just seem to be the basics to me to suddenly start to realize that there was a whole world, a universe describing, as a means for us to describe ourselves to others, describe our offerings to others.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I'm really interested in, first of all, some of your experiences about like especially your first experiences of going into websites, if we could start there.
Um, I knew I kind of had to have one, just from kind of researching a lot of the acting protocols, I suppose, for like casting directors and things.
Mhm.
So a lot of actors they can just go onto the casting website. So one of the big ones was Spotlight, and that just kind
Okay.
of posts your profile. But there's so many like hurdles to jump through to get onto Spotlight.
Mhm.
So I knew I had to kind of document all of my casting calls um and projects and things
Yeah.
in one place. And now looking back, I always think have a website because social media, it's all good and well building your business on a social media platform, but no social media platform is guaranteed long term. I mean, people get bored of platforms, they move across. I think there was Bebo and MySpace. Those were big, like
Yeah.
when I was in school and things. And then they've just kind of died off. No one uses them. So
Mhm.
I always recommend having a website because that can be your main hub. So always direct people back to your website because you can list everything then. Um, and just in terms of like search engines, so like Google and Bing and things, they if you do have a website, you're going to be found a lot quicker than if someone searches for your social media.
Yeah. Yeah. Social media. Oh, we could talk about that all day.
Good old social media.
That's right. Um, and yeah, like the way I started, like while I was working full time at Amazon as a senior manager, and I was working crazy hours. I remember I didn't really want to go and start building a website, but I knew that I had to have something that showed me not just as like this other guy. It's like Jon Binnie, senior manager at Amazon. It's like, well, why would I go to him for an energy healing? Who is this guy? And so I thought, oh, I need to like create a website. I remember just thinking, I'll call it my name. So I just bought johnbinnie.com, which was I was lucky to have a name that's less common. Well, it's not the surname. Um, and then I think I used there's and this video is not sponsored by any providers, but I chose what's it called, Milkshake, which is this like really simple almost like a one page like
Mm.
mobile site. So it's free and you just go on. I think you can only edit it in your mobile phone, and it's literally like John photo, little bit of text, and then a link to maybe an email or a booking form or something. And I think for about almost 2 years, when I was doing a couple of energy healing sessions a week for people, that's what I used as a hobby, and it felt like an identity for me. It felt like I could direct people to it, and that they could. It was a place for them to book me. Um, but I did also have lurking in my consciousness was experience of working in a digital agency in Scotland for a couple of years, and we did a whole range of uh, everything from banks to what do we do? There was like heavy vehicles in the US, um, football clubs,
Mm,
small companies, technology companies. It's a really broad range, and those websites gave me a lot of experience about some of the building blocks. But I was the guy building them with my teams. I still kind of struggled a bit with the why, and because I could see people, companies spending so much money on these things,
mm,
including like Spurs Football Club was one of them. And I should have, if I cared honestly about football, I should have been like really overwhelmed being in the boardroom in Spurs Football Club and helping them with their new website. But I was a bit like, oh, it's another project, how exciting! And what features will they ask for? What will I build? But I still just didn't fully understand the why. And I'd love you touched on why social media isn't a great place to solely rely on.
mm.
But why do we need marketing?
Uh, that's a loaded question, isn't it? Well, um, I think going back to the website bit, so why
Mhm.
it's important for companies or brands or individuals to have websites, it goes into that thing that anyone can go. So like your
Yeah.
domain name, someone could have
Mhm.
bought that. So I actually had, I mean, we've sorted it now. We're on good terms, touch wood. I had an issue with my brand, so there was
Mhm.
kind of a risk of like infringement, and that's kind of when I learned all about trademarks and things like
Yeah.
that. So it's very much kind of securing your brand
Mhm.
online, because like the internet really is a retail space. So your website is your property, and that's kind of where
Mhm.
people can find you online. So that's the why behind the website bit.
Mhm.
In terms of marketing, why it's still important. And I mean, a lot of companies, they don't actually like marketing. They find it dead money, but that's only because they see one aspect of marketing. So
Mhm.
that can be like brand awareness. So you don't usually get much of a return of like investment on brand awareness.
Mhm.
But in terms of like a good marketing person, they should be able to kind of give you lead generation strategies and sales and everything else. So
Mhm.
it's very important to kind of put what you do out there. So it's a mixture of like sales and marketing, I suppose. And it's all good and well having a nice website, having a nice brand. Like you could have one of the best brands in the world, but if you're not telling people about it, no one's going to kind of know what you do or where you are. Um, so that's kind of why marketing's important. I think it's more confidence, just getting like more confident in what you do and being able to kind of, if you're in that kind of headspace where you want to help people, you know there's people that need the help. So it's kind of like putting yourself out there, hoping for those people to find you.
Yeah. I love that. Because I do feel that without marketing, we are potentially the world's best kept secret,
Yeah.
both as individuals and then as companies, or if we come together as communities, or however we decide to try and articulate ourselves to the rest of
Mm,
the world. Um, and I and it's such a funny thing because so well, like when I started my business, and just it's in 6 weeks' time it'll be a full year, but it's just 2 weeks since I 2 weeks off the 12-month mark when I was last in the office at Amazon, well, at least working there, at least paid to be there. And I remember as I left, I was thinking, I just really want to like do the work. I just really want to help people. At the time, I was thinking do meditations, energy healing, like online psychic work, and there's
mm,
also the YouTube aspect to it as well. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to spend a bit of time on my website. And I was like, oh, and it was quite funny because I was thinking, oh, it was like a hobby, right? And then it's like, oh, and now it's a business.
mm,
And I I had that realization psychologically, but struggled also to put it into practice. And I think in some
Mhm.
respects, especially in the first year of trading, it's been difficult to know, who am I to the rest of the world? Like, how do I articulate myself to the rest of the world? And what definitely what I fell into most strongly was this, like what we're doing right now, just telling the world about myself and my journey, and then forming connections with other people. Um, and it's quite funny because sometimes people might look at, well, they'll say it to me. It's like, "Oh, John, you're so good at public speaking." It's like, I am terrified of speaking. Um,
Help me.
but it's almost like you can like carve this part of speaking publicly to just like, I feel like I'm just talking to you, Leah. So just like, I'm talking to you, but I know other people, maybe hundreds or maybe thousands, will also watch this in the future. Um, but having like just being able to have a conversation with it, I think we had like a tiny bit of structure, right? Which is like, we're going to talk about Yulia and then talk about marketing, and well, let's see how it goes.
Mm,
Um, and I feel that that has been by far the strongest journey for me to be able to articulate myself to the rest of the world. The other fascinating thing is though that what, as a business, if they then want to buy something from me, like book me for a session, I also realized, I think initially my website was like, picture of Jon Binnie. Hi, it's John. Here's me. And then like text, and I never read text on websites. And I struggled with that a lot because I was like, I think I need to describe it, but I don't think it's meant to be a video, and I'm not sure how to say it, and I want to say a lot. And it's like all these difficult contradictions, like inner conflicts. Um, but what did start to happen is my YouTube, or should I say my bookings via YouTube started to increase. I realized people just want to know me through
mm,
social media. And then if they land on my website, more it is more than a booking form, but it's being able to, you know, understand my services enough. I just, if you like, I guess my energy for my marketing budget, my energy is focused predominantly on creating content that people engage with and that learn about me and feel comfortable with me and my energy
mm,
before they then go and commit to booking something. But I know that they can't just fall off the kind of my engagement if they just go to a website. It's like, I don't get it. Like, what's that? Like, who's this? Is this the right guy?
mm.
um, and I also had a journey of creating an incredibly complex website. And just the last 4 months, I've been working through simplifying it. Um, so it's now down to about, I'm staring at it now, 4 buttons. Yeah, 4 buttons, and on the apps. Oh, we could talk about apps as well. That'd be a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, I'm really fascinated for people that you're working with now. Um, like where do you often spend like encourage people to spend their effort? Because one for instance, one blind spot for me is I don't really get spend any time on SEO or trying to get found on the internet. Most people, I can see most people are just searching for my name, if they can spell it, thereabouts, and then they find me. But yeah, I'm really interested, first of all, in like, if someone's getting started by themselves or they're starting a small company, like where should they focus their energy?
It definitely depends on what industry and like services they're offering or products even.
Mm,
But I suppose with you, your service base, so just using you as an example, the fact that you kind of established yourself as a presence before you even set up the business, that
mm,
was kind of in your favor.
yeah.
So the fact that you don't really need to spend time on SEO, that just says you've kind of cracked the formula. Marketing
Mm,
is all about kind of cracking the formula, seeing what works, trying this and like A to B testing and all that thing.
yeah.
Um, so some of the bigger companies and things, they will kind of have a little bit in everything. And that was very much like my last job, where we were just on social media. We started doing email marketing, networking, holding events, and then just partnerships and everything else. So we had kind of leads from different areas. And then I think they kind of strategized a bit more towards the last year that was there, last year.
Mm,
um, and focused on sales and more outreach, because that was kind of where the leads were kind of coming in. So it's very much kind of monitoring where your target audience are first off, and
Mhm.
then John, can you just bear with me, because I think I need to plug my laptop in.
Yeah, of course. No problem at all. I'll just pause. Great, we're back after a brief interlude for extra power.
I had to find my laptop charger. Um, but yeah, so again, it's very much kind of testing what works, and just trying every avenue possible.
Mhm.
Leave no stone unturned, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny. I remember when I first started my business, in fact, of all the people that I didn't expect this advice to come from, it was from I tried two different accountancy companies to help me with my books, and one thing I did was they advised, due to the nature of the work I do, to create a limited company to trade under,
Mm,
because it's quite hard to get insured for things like Jon Binnie's quantum psychic energy healing. Like, what is that? So when I started, they said, "Oh, let me check. Have you got all the things?" And I think I remember the first accountant saying, "Right. So do you have a website?
mm,
Do you have a newsletter? Do you have a presence on social media? At least at least one of the platforms." Um, and then they started talking about, do you have a business card? Do you have someone? Are you working with someone to build your marketing or like edit your content so that you can like get on with your day job, and to have someone supporting you. And
mm,
I think I answered yes to all the things. And to your point about the export, like I know from my artificial intelligence days, is that at Amazon, is that the way AI works well, and I think it's mimicking human behavior, right? Which is explore the things first,
mm,
try them, and then see what works. But what's really funny about humans is that we often just go, "Oh, I tried a newsletter 3 years ago, didn't work,"
mm, mm,
and you're like, whereas often we're teaching AI to say it's okay, just try again, but like don't put all the energy or effort or money into that. Just try it for a trial period, measure it, see if it's any good.
mm,
Um, and some things counter to all of this take a lot of tenacity, right? Like, luckily, I'm bathed and blessed in tenacity or obsession. I'm not sure which, somewhere between the two. And I just found myself like my calendar says Mondays writing, a 30-minute newsletter and sending out every Monday. That's what I'm doing. So it's like,
mm,
and it was only, I think, only into about month 9 or 10 that I started to get. I think I went up from about maybe 20% of people were reading it, and that was 20% of 1,000, to now I think it's 1,500 people, and I think close to half or sometimes more read it. And it's like, wow, who are these people that
mm,
are reading this? Thank you for reading my newsletter. Um, and I can see people are also ordering to it as well, like they're clicking through. Um, but yeah, do you have any advice for the sort, like, first of all, choosing the sorts of things that you might want to try out as a way of sharing your business with the world, and how
mm.
you measure them and choose to, like, how often should you check in and decide whether they're a good idea or not?
Mm. I think so I know some of the I don't want to say older generation, but definitely like that
Mm,
generation in terms of business. I think they're still kind of cautious and wary of digital marketing, just because they've probably come from the era where it was very much sales focused. Put a poster out, put a clipping in the newspaper or something like that,
mm,
and that seemed to work. But nowadays, because everything is online. I mean, if the internet goes down, I think people will kind of panic and things. They won't know
yeah.
what to do with themselves, just because it's become such like an intrinsic part of our lives
Mhm.
from everything, even like mobile banking and things like that. So in terms of that, I think be open to all aspects of like digital marketing, and that very much comes into trying yes, I See, social media is such a hard one, and I think in terms of like service-based businesses, it's good to have use it as social proof, and that's kind of what I was saying to a client on Thursday or Friday, I don't know. Um, she has like a an e-commerce business where she sells like fashion and things, and it's oversaturated. Everything is oversaturated, like social media.
Mhm.
So that's why I think try not to kind of hedge all your bets on social media. Yes, use it because we're kind of creatures of habit now. People tend to check a company's social media than they do Google reviews.
Mhm.
Just first off, I actually did a survey for that I think a couple of years back, and I think it was 80% of people tend to check social media platforms like profiles and things instead of actually Googling the company or going to the website. So
Yeah.
in terms of that, use social media for like social proof. But in terms of I've just gone blank, John. Oh my God. Um I don't know where I'm going with that. So try everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, and not a lot of businesses will have kind of the budget to try everything. That's the thing as well, all the time, especially if you're kind of running the business yourself and everything
Yeah.
else. So it's kind of making sure you can kind of handle everything. So for me, when I get a chance, I do kind of a blog. I try and do it once a week, but like I didn't get a chance last week. Um, I do a blog article that's just to kind of bump up my SEO. And then I try and post. I did try and post every day, but I haven't got the stamina to do that. I don't really like spending too much time on social media either,
Mhm.
um, just because there's other things. And in terms of what I do as well, it's kind of tied into like what's happening globally, news wise as well. So I'm kind of spending 20% of my time like researching things, making sure I'm adapting to what's kind of happening.
Yeah.
And then client calls and working out their strategies and everything else. So my own marketing kind of gets neglected at times, but I've kind of
Mhm.
established enough with my own website and things where I don't really have to do too much, and that's very
Yeah.
much SEO. So I'd kind of focus on organic marketing as much as possible, try and avoid going with agencies that say, oh, pump this much into like ads and things, because there's
Mhm.
so many charlatan agencies out there. They just want your money as quick as possible, throw up an ad for you. And yes, it might do well. There's no guarantee with ads either. Like, and I mean, there are, I know there are some agencies out there that deal with Google ads, and they will tell people, yeah, if you give us this much money, we'll put an ad up. But I mean, Google is very advanced and it's very user friendly as well. So it
Mhm.
will actually tailor the ad so that agency doesn't have to do too much work, and they've just got like a big wad of money and things.
Yeah.
So in terms of me and how I work, I tend to kind of dispel the myths and try and provide as much information for people to do it themselves. I'm very much a believer that if I can do something, people can do it. So
Mhm.
yeah. Obviously website number one, figuring out who your target audience are, and then trying to kind of connect with people. I think that's kind of a missed thing of marketing. Like, how do you actually connect with people? It's all good and well putting a post out and hoping people see it and then maybe like or comment. But
Mhm.
if someone's commented on your stuff before and you haven't really engaged with them, it's kind of building up that nurturing, they call it customer relations management. So it's very much kind of that. And I think that gets neglected a lot in marketing. Like, how do you actually talk to people? Just
Yeah.
normal conversation. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. I mean, there's so much free resources like out there for people to kind of do it themselves. And I know it can be overwhelming, like where do you start and things, but you've got the website, you've got the idea for the business,
Mhm.
and then just figure out who your clients are, your ideal clients, and then figuring out a way to connect with them. So Was
Fantastic.
that a load of rambling?
Oh no, it was great. Yeah, a little bit about all the things,
Mm.
which was exactly my question. And before I forget, like I just love your blog posts. And if I, this is how I feel when I read them. I feel a bit guilty that you've clearly spent a lot of time doing something. It feels like you enjoy, like the energy behind it feels like you're genuinely fascinated.
Mm.
Um, like there was, recent. Did you cover the tariffs? I can't remember. Um,
I covered like the beginning of the terrace, but I mean
okay,
that is like a daily thing, and
yes, it's a
it's
soap
every
opera.
10 minutes there's
That's
something
right.
else
Yeah,
come out about it. So it's very kind of
1 gazillion% tariff.
yeah. And
Um,
I mean, as long as I covered the basics of like global economics and things, I think I'm okay. But I'm marketing, I'm not a news
yeah,
reporter or anything, so but
it's
in terms of that, I have kind of set up ChatGPT as like a virtual assistant. So I
mhm,
do kind of feed in prompts and things for it to create blogs, and then I'll proofread and add my own touch on
yeah,
it. Just because it speeds up my my work process and things. So
yeah.
there's probably like 80% no, that's probably a lie. Probably about 70% chat GPT and then 30% me. But
Oh no, I wish I never asked.
I do
Um,
feed in like what I want to kind of talk about, and I know the basics, so it's just kind
yeah,
of fleshing
you do
out the
it.
article.
I think it's a really good use of ChatGPT because you do it
Mm.
well. Like there's a lot of structure, but it feels like you're telling me what's there, and that you're interested in it, and that I
Mm.
should be interested in the topic. Um, and like I think you also did budget recently in the UK, and like these are fascinating because to be honest, a lot of us are scared of mainstream media
Mm.
and including mainstream kind of social media as
Mm.
a means of understanding the news. And I know this is a really funny thing to say, but I often like just before I go to sleep, probably the worst time of the day to be doing it, I might scroll through like some YouTube shorts and there'll be
Mm.
some AI comedy versions of what's been happening in the world, including with
Mm.
world leaders. And literally that's how I'm like aware of some of these things even going on because
Mm.
I largely disconnect from the drama. And I know that having some awareness and some basic connection to reality, and my clients that I meet every
Mm.
day are telling me about their challenges they're experiencing.
Mm.
But I just feel like your blogs do is show that when you're interested in something, it can shine through and that the energy of it comes through in the content you create.
Mm.
And I think I always thought that I'd be speaking to you now to leave my corporate job and I'd be doing full-time music until just start that journey about 7 years ago. And it's only in the last 3 or 4 years I realized actually it was the energy healing psychic work that was not just more likely a career, but don't tell my guitars or my studio this, but I think I probably enjoy more than the music as well. And music has remained a hobby.
Mm.
But fascinatingly, I still chose to, and I don't know if this is like a marketing, like no or not, but I still chose to just keep everything still sits in the same YouTube channel. All my
Mm.
music, my daily highest Jon videos, my podcasts like this, everything sits together because I feel
Mm.
like people buy me,
Mm.
not the random ideas that I come up with to
Mm.
offer to them
Yeah,
by themselves.
I think it's fine what you do, and the fact that you have everything on one place, it's very similar to me as well. It's that thing of like people buy from people, and
Mhm.
people are multifaceted. I mean, it's all good
That's
and
right.
well labeling like us as business owners or like this or that, but I
Mhm.
mean, that doesn't define us as people. So it might not be like a a desirable thing from like big corporations because they're the ones that tend to kind of just stick with one thing, do one thing, and that's it.
Mhm.
And then they might try and branch out into other things and taint everything. But um, in terms of like individual people, and especially like I think it's a couple of years like ago, I kind of discovered like people, unless you're kind of putting yourself out there as the face of the business and things,
Mhm.
who is that person people connect with to buy from? Because I think due to like AI and just how saturated everything is online, if there's no kind of anchor point for people to kind of hone in on, it becomes very kind of distrusting. So even like photoshopped images and things, I find it off-putting, like
Yeah.
just fake and things. And I think people are fed up of that kind of narrative now. So it was very big in the 80s and like even the 70s and everything else. To have like these overly polished images, perfect, trying to achieve perfection.
Hmm.
And people aren't like that, and it gets exhausting to try and be perfect in them. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think having just displaying you as a person, and I mean you're comfortable in kind of putting that out there as well. So
Hmm.
someone might connect with you on the music and then find out that you do energy healing and things like that. So no, I think
Yeah.
it's a good thing to do about the ramble again.
I know, fabulous. And yeah, I wonder, like, we talked a bit about how people can like find that within them. Because if for example, I work, I rent a room at a local wellbeing center on Tuesdays, and there's other practitioners there. Some of them had recently started their businesses, and they'd had like challenges. The individual practitioners who are self-employed typically just, you're starting a business, so you focused all your energy on your qualification. Maybe it's like a massage qualification, and then you're like, oh, I need to rent some space, and then like, oh, now I need to get some clients to come along, and I think what a lot of people find is that very challenge we're discussing, which is, oh, they could almost anyone can create a post, right? And then, like you mentioned, it's quite hard to then do a post to know how often to do it, every day or every few days or every week. And then how do you make it about you? Um, and how do you connect with people in a way that just feels natural to you, like it's joyful to you, so
Mm,
that uh, knowing that you, first of all, accepting that you do have to tell other people, you,
mm,
you have to say, I do this service, I do this thing for others. If you're interested, please go and book me. Um, the but some people just find it really hard, right? Because they, even describing what they do, you could take, a Swedish massage, for example, at one of the treatments I do, completely saturated market, you would think.
mm,
But the good news is, in a world that increases the struggle with stress and anxiety and burnout, there is huge demand. But often people don't know that, well, like I didn't really know how good it would be to have a massage or even a regular one. Would it help me with my sleep, my mobility, might help me with my exercise, with my performance and my towards my goals and my daily exercise routine? Just didn't know any of those things until I actually
mm.
start training. And it's like, because other people do it on you when you're training. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Um, but yeah, really fascinated, like that journey of helping. Like, how do you help people find the most joyful way, like the easiest way for them to most effectively articulate themselves and to connect with others?
I think definitely there seems to be this misconception that if you create like a social post, you have to please the audience.
Mm,
And you really don't, to be honest.
yeah.
And I think it comes across as like fake. I think people are very kind of like intuitive, where they can tell if something was kind of overly polished, or just try hard kind of thing. So that that goes into like filmmaking, that especially in terms of like writing. So there's there's a saying that don't dumb down the audience. The audience is
Hmm.
always a lot more smarter than like you give them credit for. So they can kind of see plot holes, and even like they can tell when it's bad writing and things like that. So it's very important to kind of look at your audience like that. So instead of trying to please them, because no one really wants that, no one wants people pleasers. That goes into like
Yeah.
psychology and things. Just put things out that you actually care about, that you're interested in, and you will kind of eventually like attract people that kind of are on that wavelength. I'm a big believer in that. So with my stuff, like I don't really try, like if that makes sense. I know what I have to do in terms of like SEO and marketing wise, but in terms of like my personal stuff, a lot of it is just kind of friends saying, can you talk about this topic, or I've seen something, it takes my interest, and then I'm like, well, I'm motivated enough to do a video.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of do it. And I don't I care and I don't care. This is like the fine line. I don't care what people think. That's the thing. So people can
Yeah.
either like me or dislike me. It doesn't change me. So
Mhm.
I think that was what we touched on in the last podcast.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
getting comfortable in you as a person. So I think if people are kind of overthinking what to put out, it's because they're trying to please the audience and they're not really feeling what they're doing or
Hmm.
kind of interested in it.
I think that's amazing advice. And I think on my journey, like although I've had a YouTube channel around since I think within its first year of YouTube being created, I had a channel just in the last 7 years, probably started trying to grow it. Um, and even that's a long time, right? And in that journey, some things really surprised me. And you know, it but we see this in others, like to that point of not trying to people please. If I think of my most popular content, it tends to be me driving in my camper van, talking a lot.
Mm.
And then it's like, I'm just talking about what's going on in my life. Maybe I'm going to the well-being center for the day. Maybe I'm going on a camping adventure. Most of my posts that get the most likes are when I'm living my dream. Like I'm doing the things I love. If I'm
Mm.
out camping, out in a nature walk, or Patch, who's right down there, my little Papillon dog, it's like he gets he gets all the attention. Um, I definitely considered creating a channel for him, but it is I'm going to regret saying that, right? But it's really lovely, right? Because so many of us are brought up to think in our cultures to say, well, you should be like other people. You know, you
Mm.
should
Mm.
be to be successful. You need to be like, look, and here's someone else, and you're compared to them. Whereas I just want to be the best Jon Binnie that I can be, and I want to live that dream life that I continue to dream bigger about every day, and and to kind of get out my own way and stop like, oh no, I've got to have a website and a newsletter, membership group, and all these things. Like, yes, right, but John, what do you love doing the most, and what do people love you for the most? And often it's seeing me in my joy doing the thing that I love the most. And I think in many respects that's because the energy and the quality of the content is like way up compared to, you know, here's an admin task I felt compelled to do.
Mm. Mm.
Please click, please engage. Yeah, that really it really surprised me, and I do just keep asking, like, am I annoying people with a 45-minute driving video or not? And often people just say to me, frankly speaking, as long as one person watches it at some point, I'm fine. Like,
Mm.
and it was good to have them there on the journey. But yeah, I feel that that exploration really surprised me. But if I look at the other content creators I follow, tends to be people that are following their dreams, just doing something they love. And you also touched on this thing, right, which is sometimes more awkward for us to talk about, which is what if some people like it? And it's okay, right? And if you had situations like that where you've had clients that are like holding back, they're like, I don't want to say that thing, or I don't think my audience is ready for those things, or if I, you know, if I share some of these views, would it, you know, impact my business?
Mm. In terms of me, so my last job and things, I was very kind of vocal with like just certain issues in the world. I don't want to kind of exploit your channel, but yeah, I was very kind of aware, and I actually had the business owner say, should we put something else? Should we put something out to kind of pick a side almost? And in terms of business, I don't. You are your own boss, especially in terms of like being a business owner and things, but I kind of advise them not to um put anything political, just kind of stick to the business as this entity kind of thing,
Mm.
and not use it for that. So, and then in terms of like my own personal stuff that I was putting out, I made sure to put disclaimers, just because it was my views, and I can't speak for everyone. I
Yeah.
don't want to either. I think that would be too much pressure, to be honest. So, but I'm quite brazen in like my opinions and things. So like I said, I don't care what people think, and that's just from like my life and how it shaped me as a person. So if I kind of walked around worrying about what people thought, I wouldn't get anything done. And
Yeah.
I've been there, I've definitely been there where you kind of like you put something out and then you're like, oh my God, should I have put that out? What are the repercussions going to be of that? But that goes back to like being a child, and that goes back to like the school system, especially in the UK and things.
Hmm.
So thankfully I kind of my education was split. So I kind of did about 9 years here in the UK, and then most of it was in Ireland. And the education system there, it's similar in the fact that everyone's learning the subject, everyone gets tested, and if you
Yeah.
don't pass this, then you won't achieve certain things.
Hmm.
But it also, I think we had like CSVPE, I can't remember, it's civil, social, political education, and that was
Hmm.
kind of to teach us to question things and not just kind of go with what's being told.
Wow.
Um,
That's
so
brilliant.
yeah,
I
I
don't think it
don't think
exists
they
yet.
do it now. That's the thing. I
Oh
think
wow.
look, I don't think they actually do it as a subject now. But
Hmm.
I was very kind of grateful for that, because coming back and then seeing like my brother had to kind of finish his education here, and it was very, I don't know, very textbook. So like the teacher's just reading off pages, and like there's the test. If you don't answer correctly, then you won't get that job, kind of thing. So there's so much pressure on us as teenagers and children and things, that I think it does affect us as adults.
Mm.
Um, and especially in the public school system. I think private schools, they do kind of teach outside the box almost, and to teach children that they can achieve and they can be whatever they want. Where
Yeah.
it's like the systems now, like I can't speak because I don't know, but just from like an outsider looking in, it does seem very boxed in, and you hear like stories of teachers being stressed out. So when a person's stressed, they're not giving their best to their work and things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do very much think it's conditioning, and that goes into marketing as well. So like the mainstream news and what the government puts out and everything else, it's very kind of tailored to keep people in that subdued touch wood, universe protects me, subdued, easy to control, malleable kind of citizens. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And
Um,
it's hard, right? Because there's like you mentioned, and I can hazard a guess about what you were thinking about, but there's so many divisive, like our world is becoming increasingly divisive around us, like trying to create this duality. Did I see that post from you? It was on your YouTube channel or something. You were saying, oh, by the way, things, there's no like wrong and right. There's just a
mm,
spectrum. And I, from my spirituality work, I'm so comfortable with that. It makes perfect sense to me that we're
mm,
all on this like kind of, I just see it like this kind of rainbow of dark and light, and that it exists in all of us.
mm,
And that maybe this is probably one of the harder things for people to get their heads around, is that that full spectrum exists in all of us. So if you've witnessed or are conscious of or aware of the most evil deeds ever done in the human
mm,
race, it it is my belief that we all have that capability within us.
mm,
But it's terrifying for some people to to face that. And everyone gets to choose, right? Everyone gets to choose their own beliefs. I love, I keep waving, this is my dark to light rainbow.
mm,
But I think as part of that, it it's also fascinating because we also change our minds a lot as humans. I think that's a really healthy, good thing to do, not just to challenge others, but to challenge ourselves and say, well, I chose this political alignment one year and then I changed my mind later, or my view on these like civil rights, human rights, there's what's going on in the world, wars, whatever it is. And one thing I feel is really important for our future is that we are able to freely and safely, and I think the key word is just consciously
Mhm.
share our own beliefs, because it seems to be almost like at the moment when we draw this duality, this zero and one, the dark and light in everything. When we say something that is controversial to the rest of the world, and especially if it's coming through your business or is connected with your business and your own livelihood, somehow you, in some people's minds, you'll be falling on, are you now good or bad? In that moment, are you good or right or wrong, good or bad? Um, and I even had that today, like I was talking about in my newsletter, talking about Earth's continued ascension into the fifth dimension, which isn't, for everyone's belief system, and might be a lot of people even watching this not knowing what that is. But I thought, well, it's important to me, and as long as I explain what it is, I feel everyone gets to choose
Mhm.
whether they believe in this or not, and also that there's choices even within that particular subject. And I just felt like I still had to look at it just before I hit send, thinking, would I be prepared to lose customers over it, over that conscious belief? Like
Mhm.
if someone took offense to it, because it has happened to me in the past that not large numbers, but one or two people just walk away
Mhm.
going, just doesn't gel with me. I just want to fix this current world. Like I don't believe in anything new, and that's absolutely fine.
Mhm.
But I felt like it was a point for me where I just had to say, it's my belief. I wouldn't want to dim that. And I know that customers wouldn't want me to just hold back and be safe, because
Mhm.
where do you draw the line? And so just I think it was that moment of conscious sharing. It's not the
Mhm.
world's most controversial topic, but I'm sure it will continue to be as our awareness increases.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I think like I do like it when you share your views, because it's very refreshing, right?
Mhm.
Um, and because so many of us hide behind, well, maybe if I don't tell other people about that, it'll
Mhm.
be fine. And I'd love to ask a question, but I feel it's a little bit unfair and perhaps a rhetorical question. Like, do you have any advice for like finding if you're making a conscious decision about what you're sharing about your own personal
Mhm.
views, not just you, but people that are running their own small companies or larger companies, like, do you have any advice for them?
I think it gets into that thing that know yourself. So like feel what you're feeling. And if something keeps popping up, so say like world events and things, and if it really kind of affects you to the point you feel like you need to say something or do something,
Mhm.
go with that feeling.
Yeah.
But try not to overthink. The overthinking is what kind of stops us from making any actions in life. And I think it's important to kind of remember that we have choice. I think very much there's like this agenda at the minute, if not the best part of like civilization, history and things. There is an agenda to kind of strip away choice, and stripping away choice means you're stripping away people's power as well. So
Mhm.
you have that choice to kind of choose what brands and things like that to go with and what resonates with you. Instead of, and that's why I don't like well-known name brands and things. Like a lot of the time it's just these companies that are putting their logo on something and then charging like £500 for whatever it is,
Yeah.
and people rush and flock to buy it because it's got that name. And it's like, well, there's probably a better made I don't know, garment or something by an independent seller who's a no-name kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's very much kind of being conscious of like our choices as people. I follow Gnosticism, and that's just because it resonated with like that cynical side to me as well. So Gnosticism is all about like duality in everything, in us, in the world, but
Mhm.
it's not duality as in like left, right, like separation. It's duality
Mhm.
as in like they're one. So
Yeah.
it's two sides of the same thing.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I'd kind of recommend people to get comfortable in themselves once again. It goes back to that and not worrying about like what people think, because you'll have people that resonate with you and you'll have people that oppose you, and that goes into everything. So when I started kind of speaking about certain things, I noticed so many acquaintances, they're not friends or anything, just go deadly silent, didn't kind of engage with anything that I kind of put out. And even now, I
Mhm.
know they watch what I do, but they don't engage with it just because they don't want to be associated with that controversy. But
Yeah.
I think in terms of like world things, eventually it will catch up to everyone. So it's not to scare people like that, but just to be aware. It's
Yeah.
kind of not being naive, as in oh, if I don't talk about it, it's just going to go away and it doesn't affect me, kind of thing.
Mhm.
If you do that, I think it's more or less kind of bowing down to this agenda that's there, where they want people to be subdued and not question and things. Um, and I think the fear aspect needs to be stripped away. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like,
Yeah.
if you question something, I don't know, you might be ostracized by a certain group of people, but more than likely you'll be picked up by another group of people. So it's kind of facing our own fears and shadows in everything that we do, from like business to the personal life and things. So it's just kind of
Yeah.
jumping those hurdles, and I don't know what the end goal is, but I don't
I think
know.
that's fantastic advice.
Mm,
And yeah, I I was so nervous for a long time about saying that any of my work
mm,
involves psychic capabilities, or that I'm psychic. It took me years to say
mm,
it, and then to, you know, have even to have the bold step of having service on my website that uses those words. Um, and what really fascinates me is that some customers or potential customers will say, "Oh, it's not. I'm not really interested. Like, they wouldn't come to me for just a straightforward foot massage reflexology or massage because I do psychic work." And
mm,
yet, the opposite is true also. That I've only had, like, I'm not even sure, maybe 4 or 5 bookings. I was explaining to my son, it's a bit like going to the local chip shop for a burger. That they'll give you one, but it's not necessarily what they love
mm,
creating for you. And don't get me wrong, I love doing these more vanilla, straightforward treatments, and it is much less of a burden on me in a busy day.
mm,
But I felt like it was important for me to just be myself around my customers, so that if they said, "Oh, you do psychic," like, can you read my mind right now? What am I thinking? Will I die tomorrow? Or they want to chase you out the town with pitchforks
mm,
and torches. And just like, I think that's also it's quite a protective mechanism for yourself as well. Like, if you do share
mm,
like the whole of you, or you can, you get to choose, right? And you can choose to keep secret or private, whatever you want. But the
mm,
more you share of your authentic self, the more it just attracts people that they just easily connect with those
mm,
parts of you, because they're like, "Oh, I get it. Like, he hasn't felt psychic all his life until more recently, and he spent
mm,
years, and it actually took me 900 days of talking to spirit guides before I'd fully, you know, consciously accepted that it was an ability."
mm,
Um, and I think that's really important for me, to be able to attract the right customers that align with that. Um, so yeah, if anyone is watching, I'd encourage them to, like, you know, shine bright all the areas of your life,
mm,
and just be conscious about what you share.
mm,
Because I feel like the way, like, to your point about the consistent erosion of our or attempted erosion of our individual, like, sovereignty and our freedom, free will, our choice, these things, we need to do better, right? We need to lead better by example. And I think, like, say, just bowing down to them and saying, "Don't mention the thing, don't mention the tariffs," like, or whatever it is that's going on at that time, if you just don't ever mention those things or form your own opinion about it,
Mm,
or at least just say, I'm aware of it, I'm not engaging with that. Like
mm,
everyone gets to choose. But I feel it's a really helpful way of at least people know what's going on in your mind, what you're
mm,
thinking, and you know, as as either sad or happy as it happens, a lot of the world's misery does create a lot more work for me. But there's not you
mm,
need like a million John Binnies to fix the problems in the world that we have right now. But it is every cloud does have a silver lining, right? Like for all this misery that these problems that various people are experiencing around the world, there's always an opportunity for us individually to do better.
mm. I think it is very much like authenticity. So you saying like about being psychic and things, it's very much that fringe society thing. Like it was condemned years back, so that's kind of where that trauma aspect comes in. Like, what will people think when I say this? And that
Yeah.
actually, I can liken that to when I came out as gay and things. Like, I was so like confused and everything else. And that was when I was 16. So I kind of sat with that for 6 years.
Wow.
And I got to a point where I just knew, that was it. I need to just kind of be me. It
Hmm.
felt like I was trying to hide myself, and it just got, when you're trying to hide aspects, it gets exhausting. It really does.
Hmm.
I mean, I kind of knew my mom wouldn't deal with it well, and she didn't.
Hmm.
She's fine now, but like I was kind of like putting it off for years because like how my mom would react to it. But then
Yeah.
I kind of I moved out. I kind of safeguarded myself and moved out and got my own place. And she didn't take it well at first. And then about 6 months after, uh, we bonded again, and yeah, we're chalk and cheese at the best of times, but
Yeah.
we also get on really well. So I think it's kind of figuring out what your fears are around kind of putting yourself out. That might be your opinions, your feelings, your thoughts. And I think there was an experiment. I don't know where I watched this. It was probably like a TikTok video or something. I think the CIA in the 70s, they did like this experiment where they got six like FBI agents or something, and this one civilian guy. And they did this experiment of like they showed this triangle, this picture of a triangle, and they went through each one and said, "What do you see?" And each of the agents said a square. And then when
Hmm.
it got to this civilian, because he was kind of like, oh my God, am I seeing the right thing? Am I seeing what
Yeah.
they're seeing? Instead of calling it out and saying, oh, it's a triangle, he said square. And it's very much
Hmm.
like peer pressure thing. So I
Yeah.
think if you can, even though it might be nerve-wracking and everything else, if you can kind of call things out for what they are and not kind of fall for the fear of like what people think, I think it's breaking that chain almost of
Yeah.
like again, it's power and control and everything else that's wrong with this world. um but yeah, I think doing that, you kind of inspire more people to kind of take the baton and run with it and hopefully make the world a better place. It does seem to be uh everything all at once, I think, at the minute. And I think even these tariff economics and everything else, it's very much to kind of confuse people, get them back onto that fear frequency of not questioning and just falling in line when told to. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your personal journey. I think it's fabulous that you both came out, but also, and you knew it was going to be hard, but
mm,
you were taking the steps, right? I think
mm,
I think I read somewhere today just said it all starts with the choice.
mm,
And once you made that choice, a bit like
mm,
when I said to my wife, I'm thinking of leaving my corporate job, and she knew I was like that was a bit of a white lie because she knows
mm,
me. She'd be like, you wouldn't say it unless you'd already decided. You've decided, haven't you? Yes.
mm,
But I need to like take those steps. And yeah, thank you for sharing your journey. Yeah, I totally agree that um we can often, respond to the world events by doing the opposite, right? Like
Mm.
you could literally take so many things that are happening and go, well, I'll just do the opposite because there's in the world of no wrongs and rights where there's a poor or negative intention for something behind an action, you can just choose a positive intention behind something. And
Mm.
often we're scared of doing that and just like, but what if it's not the good enough? It's not the
Mm.
best thing in the world. It's like, doesn't matter. It's still gonna be a lot better than what else is going on. And even if you just inspire one person to just help, come out of their fear to just step through it a bit just by sharing your journey or saying, yeah, I was terrified. Like I was terrified for years.
Mm.
Um, both about my leaving my corporate job and then coming out as psychic as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Leah, for coming along.
No
I
problem.
could literally chat for
I
hours.
know. We do ramble.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's lovely to introduce you to uh, well, my subscribers, but then also whoever else comes across us on YouTube. Um, and what's the best way for people to connect with
Oh, a carrier pigeon and smoke signal.
you?
I do have my website, but it is very much like marketing. So it's solmazmarketing.com, and I think I'm on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, as Leah Solmaz. So
Okay,
um, however they want to connect, whether it be telepathically or like smoke signals, I'm open to it.
fantastic. Yeah, I'll definitely I'll at least include your website in the description of the video. People do that, right? They go in the description of the video, and it's like
Yeah, link
magically
down
put in
below.
there. So yeah, do check out Leah's work, and I definitely encourage you, just like very much the theme of our conversation today. Like I always find it fascinating when I first come across someone, I'm like, oh, I think I'm quite interested in them, and I just start to, I'll maybe like subscribe to a newsletter or follow them on Instagram or something or YouTube, and
Mm,
then it just gradually comes into your consciousness, and you can decide, right? It's like, does this person really resonate with me, or
mm,
why do I keep feeling compelled to go back to them?
mm.
What is it? What it is that I should be doing? Um, and yeah, just a big thank you for coming on, and
Mm.
looking forward to getting to meet you around the end of the month.
I
That'll
know,
be a
I
lot of
can't
fun.
wait. I've got it marked on the calendar.
Fantastic. That'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, thank you so much for coming along, and thank you
Um,
everyone for watching.
Thank you ever so much for having me, and look forward to next time as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Leah. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.